All right, boys, this time we have the Focal Clear in front of us. And this is the box it comes with. I know it's a little hard to tell, but I'm trying my best to get it right here on camera. Also, keep in mind I'm using a new mounting solution, so let me know what you think of it. Tell me if it looks good, tell me if it looks a little weird, a little wacky, and just trying my best here. Oh, I'm not trying my best, really. Yeah, I'm really not. Anyway, these are the Focal Clear. This is the box it comes with. Very nice, pretty straightforward. It looks a little more commercial than, like high-end. But I really can't complain about the box. It's a decent box. So you open it up like this. Boom. Let's do a quick unboxing. Get the top part out of the way. And inside, what you're going to see is this right here. You're going to see that it comes with a separate box. This is where the cables come. This is a quick manual for how to use a headphone in case you don't know what sound is. Because apparently Focal thinks we're kind of stupid, but okay. And it also comes with the headphones in this particular carrying case right here, which, by the way, is very nice. And I should mention that separate costs about $150. Yes, I have looked it up. The price literally is about $150 for this thing on Amazon, brand new, in case you want to put any of your other Focals in here and want to take them somewhere. Yippee. So, let's jump into the separate box first. You open it up, opens up like an armoire, and you've got yourself a single-ended cable on the right side and an XLR balance cable on the left, which I have removed because that is what I did the majority of my testing with for the sound, the review, of course. There's the user manual. Thank you, Focal. Now I know how to use headphones, and it's all because of you. Now here we got the headphones themselves. Finally, what you've all been waiting for. So open up the thing, the case. What you'll find inside is, well, the headphones themselves. It's a very, very nice carrying case, by the way. I like it. I like it a lot. And on top of that, what you will find here is it comes with an additional 3.5 millimeter cable. This one's a bit shorter. This one's about 4 feet long, which is, well, good, you know, because you don't want to use a 3.5 at a desk setup. That's what amps are for. So, also, yeah, keep that in mind. Although these don't require a lot of power to drive them, I do strongly suggest that you use an amp because, I mean, come on. You know, this is an expensive headphone. How could you not use a proper DAC and amp to run them? You can run them without an amp. It's fine, but really, you want to get the most out of your money here. So you're going to want some additional power and some additional digital to audio convertive capabilities to run these to their full potential. So keep that in mind. Now, let's go ahead and put this case out of the way, which I don't know if I already mentioned is so beautiful. Look at that. Look at that stitching. The Focal logo. It's so nice. So beautiful. Ooh, so crispy. These are the Focal Clears right here. They come in 2 colors. They come in either silver or the red and black model, which I personally prefer the silver because they happen to look quite luxurious and quite delicious. If you see here, you got the Focal logo. It says Clear, Fabrique en France. I don't know how to speak French, so I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm trying to swallow some jelly. Very, very nice looking headphones here. The pads are made out of an Alcantara-like material, which I happen to think is quite nice. Very, very decent. And yeah, they definitely don't get uncomfortable as far as the pads or the top of the headband go, because the top of the headband is also made out of the same material, but it is non-removable. So you gotta keep that in mind. And from my experience, I don't know if you can tell, but compared to the pads, they do look ever so slightly dirty, just a little bit dirty. Not the biggest deal in the world, especially because, I mean, you're not going to be looking at the pad. That's not what you're going to be using the headphone for. You're going to be using them for music. So it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal, but it is something that, well, that should be addressed. So there you have it. I happen to like the color. It's a very nice color. And yeah, really. Out of all the focals, I happen to think the clear looks the best, which of course the Utopia comes in second because it's still somewhat flashy, but it also maintains that black look. And it has additional details like the carbon fiber, the grill thing right there where the focal logo should be. It looks very nice. So this is the XLR cable right here. This cable is trash. All the cables that focal include are pretty much trash. And even though they're usable and they don't, in my experience, I haven't had any failing issues with them. You really should be considering an aftermarket cable after the fact because it's terrible. It's like 6 to 7 feet long, which is not bad. That's not what I'm complaining about. It's just that it's so stiff and rugged and it's just annoying. It really is annoying. It gets to my nerves. Now let's go ahead and jump into the comfort here. The comfort of the headphones is, and full disclosure, I received these pre-owned. According to the previous user, he said that he had used them for approximately 20 hours before he decided he just didn't like them. And then he passed them on to me. Well, should I say he sold them to me? No. If he had passed them to me, I would have been so happy. Anyways. Yeah, so these had about 20 hours of usage, and I've put an additional probably 10 hours on top of that. Now, as far as the comfort goes, the pads have worn down a little bit. Not with me, but in general. They didn't come as spongy and full as the focals should be, which isn't a problem at all because once they wear down, the headphone becomes much more comfortable. So I was pretty happy. And in my experience, they don't clamp too hard. They don't clamp too soft. They clamp just enough for you to be able to feel like the headphone is fine on your head and not feel like it's going to fall off. So I really enjoyed that. And the comfort it's decent, but it's definitely not the best. So you should keep that in mind. I'll give you an example. In the mornings, I wake up, I put them on, everything's perfect, perfectly fine. But let's say I'm coming back from school, from work, and I'm tired and I've got, a bit of fatigue going on. I can't wear these for longer than 20, 30 minutes. I should just leave that out there. And then I have to switch over to the HD800 or even the HD600 or in my K7XX, the go-to comfort headphone I own. So just going to keep that, just going to let you analyze that and think about it as far as that's concerned. Really, yeah. I mean, not a big issue with the comfort at all, but not too bad. Now the cable on my chest, it feels very heavy and very present, which is why I don't like it. It's so stiff. It's annoying. It's annoying. Like I said, when you receive your own pair and you notice that the pads are wearing down relatively quickly, I would not worry too much about that because the pads are going to be fine, man. Honestly, the pads are going to be quite fine. And they get much more comfortable once they wear down a bit, like I said. Now, what else? The size of the cups right here, just for reference, I have relatively small to small ears. They fit just enough inside for me to not worry about them pinching on my ears. But if I move the headphone a little up or a little down, it's going to pinch my ear. And not in a painful way, but just, it's not going to be completely submerged inside the headphone. So keep that in mind. Now, let's jump into the sound, 10 minutes into the review. Let's start with the bass. Pretty impressive bass, actually. The mid bass has a slight forwardness to it, and it offers a good punch, but it's not overdone. It's not what I would consider bassy, but it's kind of approaching there. The sub bass for a dynamic headphone extends quite low. Wow, you go down there, it goes down there, man. It goes quite down there. Of course, it's still not as good as a planar, or a good planar anyway. It's still not going to be as good as a separate sub from a speaker setup, of course not. But, and I'm not talking about like quality, I'm talking about quantity. You know, of course it's not going to have as much as that, but it's definitely there on the quality. It's very, very, very punchy, very present, not overdone, just present. I heard some weird noises. Anyway, I'll give you an example here. The song "The Hammer" by Dead Clock, it's a song that naturally gets a little meaty in the bass guitars, the lower end. It gets very meaty, and in a bass-heavy headphone, it is a pain to listen to. Anything that's like neutral to bass light is, you know, much better, much easier to listen to the song. So it does get a little meaty with these, but the separation keeps the clarity clear. And the bass guitar in Get Lucky has a bit of a forward presence, but it has some very decent detail to it as well. It does not get, it does not drown out the rest of the spectrum at all, but it definitely has a bit of a spotlight going on to it. So depending on what you like, that could be the headphone for you. So overall, the bass I would consider close to neutral with some excellent bass extension for a dynamic headphone, although it can be somewhat aggressive. Now, let's jump into the mids. The mids, okay. Female vocals are about as forward and aggressive as possible without being sibilant or painful. And I'm saying that in both a good way and a bad way. Depending on what you like, that can either be a good thing or a bad thing. It's up to you. The cello, it stands out quite well, but its timbre is a little mechanical and metallic. It doesn't sound quite natural to me. Very clear, very articulate, but not natural. Male vocals suffer a lot less when it comes to that metallic timbre as well. They sound quite full and clear. They're not exactly forward, but they're very clear cut from the rest of the instruments. So it's very easy to discern male voices, even though they're not like right in your face either. Lower brass sounds more articulate and textured as well, but it's not quite rich either. It lacks a bit of fullness that I think the brass instruments have in real life, despite the fact that they're still quite articulate. So not a bad thing at all, but not excellent to me. Now we're jumping into treble. This one really takes the brunt of the metallic timbre that I was talking about, man. These, man. And you'll see in the following few videos, because I'm going to do comparisons with what I have on hand, and there's actually a surprise headphone in the works as well, by the way, that I'm going to be comparing these to. It's been reviewed here on this channel before, and you'll get to see it again, because I couldn't wait. I had to get my hands on it again, because I had to compare them. So, generally speaking, I would consider it to be slightly forward and somewhat aggressive. I would never say it gets too harsh, though. However, well, I'll get to the however in a bit. It has this silvery airiness to it, much like a planar, but more of that going on, not like the darkness of a planar. Like, imagine the brightness of a dynamic and the slight forwardness, but with that extra silvery airiness going on, and that special kind of planar sound, right? The forwardness introduces a bit of sibilance around the 6K region, more like where the trumpets are, give or take, but it's never too much. And you can correct it by reducing 6K and 10K by about 1 to 2 decibels if you want to, but it's not necessary, in my opinion. It's not absolutely necessary. Really, nothing much else to mention about the treble. It's quite straightforward, literally. It's metallic, silvery, forward, and most of the time never offensive. Like, there's never too much treble. It's just the timbre of the treble that is the biggest flaw in the treble, of this headphone in particular. Ooh, very professional. Dropped it. Anyways. As far as the Soundstage is concerned, it's more on the mid to narrow side. It's not it's not astounding. It's not massive and, you know, immersive or whatever. Well, no, I would say it's a bit immersive, but it's not like a huge area where you can hear, I don't know, like the entire jungle around you and stuff like that. No, but it's not disappointing either. It almost has a behind the listener part of the soundstage where you can hear things not to your left and right, but behind you as well. Hint actually referred to that particular headphone and referred to that kind of sound in a different review. That is going to be the last I compare this one to, by the way. So, the imaging, however, this is where we get to one of the strong points. Wow. I mean, Focal they know how to impress the listener, man. As far as imaging goes, the clarity is astounding. It really excels at separation with more busy tracks, right? Like with many instruments going on, you can really discern what's going on here and there with that instrument. It's just very, very clear, very, very open. I'll give you an example. With Tank by the Seatbelts, that would be the intro to Cowboy Bebop, by the way. The string bass on the right never becomes overlapped or drowned out. Should I say not the string bass? I believe it's the guitar. It's a guitar. It produces less of a note and more of a twang on the strings. So I want to say guitar. The guitar never becomes overlapped or drowned out by the other instruments and the brass and everything else going on in the track. All the instruments popped clearly, very, very clearly. And you can easily discern where they were, and they almost had that behind the ear kind of effect, kind of thing as well. Now, like I said, I did most of my listening here in XLR because most of the people receiving this headphone is obviously they're gonna get the XLR cable out of the box, and they're gonna want to run this XLR because who gets a high-end headphone to run it off of a shit Modi and a Magni, you know? Maybe as an interim solution, but not as a permanent solution. You're going to definitely want to upgrade to something better to power these correctly and get the most out of them. And that's what I agree with here. So I tried out the XLR and the single-ended, and out of the two of those, straight up, the difference here, the balance is more aggressive, the single-ended is more laid back. At first I thought that pretty much everything remained the same. Most things remain the same, and they do, but there are some drawbacks, mainly in the mids. I was listening to the vocals in Armageddon, I'll just leave it like that, by Marilyn Manson. So I don't know about like the cursing on the channel, but anyway. Armageddon by Marilyn Manson, it got washed out through the single-ended. Like, it's just, there is no Marilyn Manson, there are no backup singers, there's nothing. There's just instruments, very clear instruments, very detailed instruments, but no vocals. Seriously, it's like Marilyn Manson is like singing from, you know, the McDonald's across the street from the recording studio. It's really like that. So do yourself a favor, if you're picking up a pair of Focal Clear, just don't. Just don't. Don't run them single-ended, is what I meant to say. So that's the majority of what I have to say. Now, overall, these are quite clear, you know? These are a quite clear headphone. I'm sorry, I'm going to be making that pun so often because the word clear is just something I got to use to describe the headphones. It's going to happen. Get used to it, okay? You got excellent imaging here. You have an adequate soundstage. You have great bass reproduction, amazing detail, but average mids to highs due to that strange metallic timbre up above. Now, look, it's not a deal breaker, but it's an acquired taste that you have to consider when purchasing these headphones. It's a must. I'm sorry, but it's a must. You got to consider that when you're purchasing the headphones. So, would I keep them? You got to stay tuned for that one. We got a couple more comparisons coming up with the Focal Clear versus, well, HD600, HD800, and that mystery headphone that I was talking about. You'll see. So just an FYI before I end the video, I have decided to open up a Patreon just because, and this is the only reason, because I feel like if I happen to receive some help from you guys, I can get in so many more headphones, and not just one at a time or two at a time, but I can get the entire lineup of whatever of, I don't know, Hifiman, Focal, Audeze, Sennheiser, and I can get the entire lineup of every brand, and I can do the comparisons and the sole reviews and stuff like that, and I can pump out so much more than I can do right now, just because, hey, you know, I'm a college student and my funds are limited. Excuse me. So that's, like, I'm doing the best I can, but there's only so much I can do with the funds I have available to me. So let me know what you want to see out of a Patreon, though. I don't want you to feel like I'm just, you know, extorting money out of you guys. And trust me, that is the last thing I want to do. I don't want you guys to feel like I'm extorting money. So why don't you go ahead and let me know in the comment section what you would like to see out of some Patreon tiers. What do you feel like are the most appropriate price ranges? What do you feel you should receive ahead of time or on top of everybody else for contributing? Let me know what you think, and yeah, just so you know, I'll probably be posting the Patreon within probably, I don't know, probably by the next video once I receive enough comments. All right, anyway, that's going to do it for me, guys. Yeah, am I going to keep these? You have to stay tuned and find out. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, everything down below. You know what to do. Well, I'm not your father. You know what you want to do. But I hope this helped anyway. I hope my journey through the headphone world has helped you get a better insight into what you want out of your headphone listening experience. Adios, muchachos.